What up, guys? So today I'm going to run you through some troubleshooting. We're going to pretend that this Paragon M has some sort of power issue. So before we do anything and before we open any of the covers or get into it, we want to check to make sure that we have power going to the unit. There's nothing worse than troubleshooting and spending time on a unit trying to figure it out. Then later figuring out that you either have a bad cable or house power is bad, something in that nature. So let's say we check the source, everything looks good, our cables look good. The next thing that we're going to do is open the base of the unit. If you don't know how to do it, don't worry, I got you. I already made a video for that. So I'll link down in the description so that you guys can check that out. So let's say that we have this unit open already. This is an auto switching power supply, so it does take anywhere between 120 to 240 volts AC, and it does output 380 volts DC. So we're going to go ahead and take our multimeter and check to make sure that we're getting the same thing that our power source is providing. And if you don't know what a multimeter is, I suggest you not even try to mess with electricity, but who am I to tell you what to do? So anyways, so we check the input with our meter and everything looks good. The next thing that we're going to do is check the output of the power supply. There is a fan that's blocking the output, so we're going to have to remove that. All it is 2 screws, and you can take that out with a Phillips screwdriver. Before we do anything, we want to make sure that we disconnect the cables. The reason why we disconnect the cables is because if there is a short that's further down the line, then it's going to cause the power supply to be reading either a weird number or 0. So we want to make sure that we're only reading the power supply and nothing after that. So after we take out the cables, we're going to check it with our meter and make sure that we're getting 380 volts DC. If you're not getting the 380 volts, now you know you might have an issue with this power supply. And if you are getting the 380 volts, then we can go ahead and move on to the next power supply. This power supply inputs the 380 volts DC from the other one and outputs 48 volts DC. So just like we did the other power supply, we want to make sure that we take off all the connectors on it. So we're only reading the power supply. So let's pretend that I took off all the connectors, and the next thing that we're going to do is take our meter to it. If you're getting 0 on your meter, now you know you have an issue with this power supply. And if you do get 48 volts from this power supply, most likely you're going to have a short that's further down the line, most likely somewhere in the head. So let's just say that everything checks out with our power supplies and we have no issue with them. The next thing that we're going to do is check everything past the power supplies. There are things that are likely, there are things that are unlikely. I'm going to go through some things that are more likely just so that you don't waste your time and you check those things first. So let's go through some likely things. Let's say you worked on the unit, you had to pull out some modules, or you're cleaning the gobos, something like that. And it worked completely fine before, but as soon as you put everything together, somehow it doesn't work. Who knows? So what we're going to do is check to make sure that we have all these connectors that go in the modules the correct way. There is a tab and there is a lip, so we want to make sure that everything goes in the correct spot. There is a reason why I bring that up first. Most likely you're working on the unit, you take out the module, you fix everything, you put everything back, and I get a call, hey Zach, I'm having some power issue. I took out the module. I put everything back together. Everything checks out. Just not sure what's going on. I'm not getting any power. And the first thing I'm always going to tell you is check to make sure you always put your connectors back in the correct spot. If you don't put them in the right spot, you're going to end up having a short and your unit won't even turn on. So we checked our connectors and everything looks good. So let's go to the second most likely thing. Say you're working on the unit and everything's put back together. The connectors all look good, but you cut some zip ties. The next thing that we're going to do is check our cabling. There's a lot of times that we have to use some clippers to cut some zip ties, free up some cables so that we could get a module out or work on something. And if we did, we probably should go back to make sure that we didn't snip or cut any of the cables. So I'm not saying that everything's going to be your fault, but the reason I say this is because we work so hard on these units to make sure that there's no cables that could be snipped, crimped, or damaged in any way. Just like any of the cables that are going through any yokes or moving parts, we make sure that all the cables are protected. So let's say you never opened up the unit, you check the power supplies, everything's checking out, the cables are good, the connectors are fine. So I'm gonna help you troubleshoot the rest of it. So the first thing that we're going to do is disconnect all the connectors that go to each module, and then also the PC board that's in the arm that controls the pan and tilt. After we have this disconnected, we're going to want to turn on the unit. If the unit turns on, then we know that there's going to be an issue either between one of the modules or the PC board. So if we disconnected all the cables and the unit turns on and you're getting something that shows on the display, now we know that we're going to have some sort of an issue in one of the modules or this PC board. The only thing that's connected right now are the LED drivers. So that means that if you are getting a power issue still, it's most likely going to come from your LED driver or your LED itself. So let's pretend the unit turns on. There's no issues with the LED driver or the LED itself. The next thing that we're going to do is connect each thing one by one. First of all, we're going to start with our pan and tilt board. So I'm going to go ahead and connect this first. Make sure that's good, and then turn it on and try again. So with the process of illumination, we're going to go ahead and connect each module one by one and see where the issue is. So let's say once we connected the global module, that's when our unit started to have power issues again. So now that we found that when we plug in the global module, the unit's shutting off, there's a couple options that you have. The first thing that I would do if I had another Paragon M is to take that module out of the other Paragon M and put it into this one, just to make sure that the unit is going to run as it should. Even though we do know that our power issue is coming from this global module, I just like to replace it anyways, just to put my mind at rest, just to make sure that this is where the issue is coming from. So we put in the other module, the unit turns on, it works as it should. So the next step is going to be to figure out where our issue is in that global module. I'm not going to take out the module because that's going to be for another video, but I will run you through what I would do next for troubleshooting. So in the global module, you can see that there's two power connectors. Each one goes to a different PC board. This PC board that's visible right here is going to be the CMY and the CTO, while this cable runs to the PC board that controls the global wheels and the color wheel, and I believe also the animation. So let's pretend that we had the issue once we connected the global PC board. So in the world that we're pretending that we have the other Paragon M, the next thing I would do is replace that global PC board from the working module. And once you replace that global PC board with the new one and the unit starts working, now you know that you have a bad PC board. If the issue still persists and you still have a short, your next step is going to be to check that PC board. So I'm not going to take out the module to show you just because that's for another video, but I will explain the process of how to troubleshoot the PC board. And this also goes for if you don't have another PC board to replace it and you just need to troubleshoot the PC board itself. So the next thing that I would do is unplug all the motors and sensors, pretty much any connector other than the power that goes to that PC board, and see if you're getting power. If you are getting power again and your unit starts to move and turn on, now you know that you probably have a short in either the motor or the sensor. Most likely it's probably going to be a motor that's shorting out your PC board. Then we're going to use our same process that we use for the modules, and then we're going to try to pinpoint which motor or which sensor is shorting out the PC board. Most likely it's going to be a motor. So what we do is connect each motor one by one and then powering on and off the unit, just to kind of figure out which motor is causing the issue. It's a tedious process, but once we find the connector that's giving us the issue, then we could figure out what it's labeled. But once we find the connector, the Paragon is the first series that we put schematics inside the head cover. So the schematic in the head cover shows you each PC board that's in the head, shows you what it's labeled and what it does. Thanks guys for checking out the video. Hopefully it answered all your questions, but if it didn't, please feel free to comment or reach out to me. Also, if you didn't know, Elation Service does have a forum and we use it to support and post fixture updates. So go check that out.